Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be talking with Mark Ennis, that's Coach Mark Ennis, a carnivore and ketogenic bodybuilder and also coach from Ireland. And we're going to be talking today about pre-contest bodybuilding and fat loss phases. I appreciate it's probably the right time of year to talk about this as we're currently in around about April time. We're just running into that pre-contest phase where everyone's really trying to get in shape and get ripped out of their mind. So Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm good, sir. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. My pleasure. I just thought it'd be relevant to have one of the very few carnivore bodybuilders in the world right now to talk about carnivore bodybuilding, contest prep. So I was quite interested to hear about not so much your reasons why to compete this time, but more so the reasons how you competed. So what did you do with your training, your diet or supplements going in from, say, Christmas time last year to your pre-contest phase and there and out. So before, during and after your contest that you did last year in, I believe, the later months in the US. So what did it look like to start with, say, your off season?
So the off season, my food was quite high. I was quite flexible with my food. I wasn't tracking anything at all. I was very relaxed. Just focusing on getting really strong in the gym, eating quite a good amount of food. I was getting away with a good amount of food, and I was just getting really strong. So everything's going really well. And then as we start getting closer towards the stage, all I did pretty much was I just adjusted my volume. So at the very beginning, I probably would have went probably 8 exercises. As I got closer to the stage, I probably halved that. Because at that stage, I wanted to maintain strength. I did not want to lose any strength at all before I got on stage. All the way during my prep, even when I got on stage, I never lost any strength. I just adjusted the volume, so it worked perfectly for me. When it came to this, I kind of knew what I needed to do. I'm kind of an expert when I'm training, and I just let the coach then just focus on the macros, what I needed, and let him take care of what I need, like food. Because at that stage, you know yourself that you're not really thinking about anything else. You're just focusing on getting as lean as possible, getting as tidy as possible, just doing your part when it comes to the gym and everything else. So you're not really focusing on the food. You're getting somebody else to do that for you. So that's pretty much all I did. I just made sure the volume was perfect. And then when I came out of it, it was kind of like a reverse phase. I just added things back in slowly. And now at this stage, now I'm back to where I was at the very beginning of the off season.
Sure, brilliant. So it sounds like your training volume was the key towards keeping your muscle mass on and keeping your appetite on point. If you're not overeating and doing loads of activity. Now, how many times a week do you train? Roughly, what is an average training session? Do you do intensifiers, rest pause, widow makers, anything extra?
When was this, in the off season or what I'm doing right now?
In the off season. So we're going back to the off season. So everything right now we're talking about is for the off season.
Yeah, so basically the off season and prep, nothing changed. I was still doing the exact same thing. I was only doing one set at the gym, and the only thing I did was pretty much a few weeks out from the show is I wasn't taking too many sets to failure. In the off season, I would have been taking sets to extreme failure. So everything to failure. And then as I got closer to the stage, there was no point in me going to failure. I wanted to hold on to that mass I built in the off season. I didn't want to put my body through any fatigue. Didn't want to hold any water. In that part of the season also. So nothing really changed, only the volume.
Yeah, can you run us through a training session that you did in the off season?
Yeah, so a training session in the off season for me would have been like, say, a push session. So I would have went into the gym and I would have done an activation set pretty much just to open up the chest, get the chest warm. I would have done a few sets on that, no failure sets. Then I would have had my first compound lift. So I probably would have done a dumbbell, maybe a machine press. At this stage, I was very warm, so I'm just going straight into the set. And pretty much I'll do probably one warm-up set and then I'll go straight into it. I'll take the muscle to complete failure eccentrically, both concentric and the static part of the set. Then I'll move on to an upper part of the chest. So I'll focus more on the front deltoid and the upper chest. And I focused again, just one set. I went in there Wasn't picking an amount of reps I was doing. I was just basically putting the muscle through enough to get the job done. Then after that, then I was going on to a different movement. I was focusing on the triceps. So I was focused on 3 movements, which were primarily compound push movements. The first one was, say, a machine press. The second one was an incline press. And then I would have done a tricep dip or something like that. Then I would have speeded the workout up at the ends. I would have focused more on isolations, just get a lot of blood into the area. I probably would have done just down 1 push down for the triceps, 1 movement then just to finish off the chest, or I would have done a lateral raise just to finish off the shoulders. And then I would have finished it all off then by stretching the tricep, which is basically an overhands.
I like that kind of methodology. It seems to be a similar sort of thing to what I'm doing. I'm obviously going to be a little bit biased, but yeah, it seems to work out pretty well. Now, let's talk a little bit about the diet specifically. I know you said you didn't really track anything in the off season. It was more just go by feel, eat enough, recover well, sleep well. Do you have any idea sort of what food groups you tend to stick to? So maybe if you said like a ballpark protein amount, ballpark fat amount, what proteins, what fats did you like? Things like that.
So are you looking in percentages or grams?
Grams, because percentages often morons.
Okay, so I'd say my protein intake, we were going for probably about a pound per. So basically my body weight in basically pounds. So I was aiming for between 140, 160 in protein. That was basically where we hit, and they were good macros at the beginning.
Nice.
And we were kind of on a 1-to-1 balance between fats and protein. So I was on around 160 protein, 160 fat. As we got leaner and leaner and leaner, the protein went down, fats went up. So when I got on stage, my protein intake, I think at the time, I was only taking in around 90 grams, and my fat intake was well over 200.
Interesting. Yeah, that is pretty interesting. I guess that's quite similar to the Robert Sykes kind of approach where the fat goes up, the protein goes down. What is your rationale for that? Because usually, typically bodybuilders will say, as I'm dieting down, I need more protein from my diet to make up the protein that I'm losing from, the training. It's usually as protein degradation goes down, protein synthesis needs to find a way to go back up. So you spike the protein synthesis pathway throughout the day more with larger amounts. What was the rationale behind that? Because I know Robert Sykes has mentioned it and Colt's mentioned it before, but just from your take.
So for me, when we're in that phase and we're trying to drop as much body fat as possible, the goal is not to put on muscle. So you don't need that much protein. You've already put the muscle on in the off season. So when we get lean, we're trying to get as ripped as possible. We're not really focusing on how much amino acids we can muscle. We're just trying to strip down as much fat as possible. Also, by increasing the fats, it kept my fat level perfect. I didn't eat at all. Whereas if I increased my protein, I probably kept it up too high. Because of that gluconeogenesis effect, I probably would have spiked blood sugar, and I would have had those cravings probably even close to the same.
Interesting. Yeah, I think some people can be particularly sensitive to the protein side of it. Not very often. I'd say it's quite a small lever in terms of gluconeogenesis, but I've just noticed myself, I do the exact opposite. I've done this 20 to 30 times now where I've increased the protein, decreased the fat. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm not very gluconeogenic. Maybe I don't produce much sugar from protein. But it seems to me it's almost like a free calorie, free nutrient kind of thing. Obviously it's not, there's effects if you eat too much. It's not ideal to eat more than what your body asks for, but that's a very interesting take. Now, you mentioned you sort of increased the fat a little bit as you got close to the competition. What did that go up to roughly?
So my fat before I got on stage, we were around 180, 190. That's the highest we got. So I can't remember the exact number, but it was definitely close to 200, definitely.
Nice one. Interesting.
And when I look at my overall food volume, I was eating a good amount of food before I got on stage. Whereas in the past, I would have looked at my food and I'm like, okay, I reduce my food very, very low. I was probably eating maybe in regards to like volume and calories and stuff. I was eating more than five, maybe six extra before I got there. I think I was in a very, very comfortable spot there with food also. I wasn't in or suffering whatsoever. Right up the stage, I was very extremely calm. I got a little bit of brain fog here and there, but my energy was never low. I felt really, really good. I felt, as I said, when it came to training all the way through the prep, I didn't lose any strength whatsoever. I think it's the way I approach the prep all the way up to the stage.
Nice one. You're very fortunate then, because most of us really suffer the last few weeks. I was running on fumes 8 weeks out, and I'm now about 5 or a bit weeks. But that's my body. It's everyone's body's a bit different. There's some guys out there. There's a bodybuilder called Roman Fritz, professional bodybuilder. He trains 6 times per week, twice per day, so 12 sessions per week. He does his cardio. He's had a double hip replacement. His macros are absurd. Like if you looked at calories, it'd be like 7,000 calories a day to get ripped. And I'm like, how does he do it? But some people, I guess, just higher energy. Maybe they get more energy from the sun. Maybe there's something about their own individual biology, but I was flagging about a month ago, and I'm not much better now. I'm probably 3 out of 10 for energy right now, so I'm absolutely dazed. But
the difference there was, I remember looking at you were when I was in the probably I wasn't that big at all. I was pretty much, I could have been ready if I wanted to push the panic button. I could have been ready That's it. I wasn't obese at all. I was quite lean. See my abs, body fat at the time maybe 16 to 18%, probably a little bit lower. But I wasn't too far off. I knew, because I think I remember speaking to you back way before we went on stage. I felt very, very good, and I felt that, listen, like, I'm starting to see my abs. This is the off season, so it'll be amazing what I look like now when I start stripping all this body fat off.
Yeah, roughly how much did you lose between when you started your prep and when you ended your prep?
In body fat?
Body fat, yeah. Your weight.
I think at the beginning I was probably around 19, and at the end my body fat was 7%.
Okay, how much weight did you lose in that?
I lost 4 pounds.
Nice one. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But Coach Mark here, for anyone who doesn't know, he's on the slightly shorter side, so relative to his body size, it's quite a lot of fat that he did drop in that time. So it's pretty cool. Now, I wanted to ask a question kind of going into prep. So did you have an initial step count? Did you have an instinctive amount? Was it that Colt, your coach, said, okay, we're going to increase steps for 2,000 a day? Did you micromanage any kind of thing outside of like going to the gym and your diet as it was? Yeah,
so this is basically where we had a disagreement. Myself and the coach. I felt that I didn't need much cardio. I thought that would have done a lot of damage. But the coach wanted me to do cardio. We tried it for a week, and it completely ruined me. I knew it wouldn't work, but I went along with it, and I just said, right, let's just do it. And at the time, he wanted me to do the Stairmaster times a week, like 10 minutes, and HIIT training. So I did it, but at the very, very beginning, I was like, okay, this is just not going to work for me. I know it's not going to work. I need to focus on my steps. But after that week, my cravings went up here. Like, I was craving so much food. It was unbelievable. And at the end of that week, we had to have a repeat straight away, because I was ravenous. I said, okay, listen, we need to stop this. I need to add in a refeed here, and let's get back to normal on the Monday. And then when we get to the Monday, I'm only going to be walking, say, twice a day, like maybe half an hour, because at this stage, I'm trying to conserve all my energy. I'm not trying to ruin myself. If I'm stripping my volume back in the gym, what's the point in doing a large amount of output outside the gym? It doesn't make sense.
So it's a mixed match, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
Put myself through that, because that was putting a lot of stress on my body. I could feel my body with a lot of water, and I was like, this is just not working for me.
I found the same actually. So my coach, I check in with Fridays, and my coach this morning, So the first week I started out with, we did what's called a deload week. So it's something I understand extremely well, but I'm new to doing it. I've never had a deload in 15 years of training. Effectively, that's too much volume for me. So we scaled it back a bit. And this last week, I've done 3 training sessions. My cardio's been 20 minutes, elliptical trainer after the gym. Step count is very low, pretty much. And this next week, he said, so from Saturday till Tuesday, have 4 consecutive rest days because my body fat's still dropping. My body's showing a lot of signs of fatigue. And when we compare 2 different photos, I'm looking at my hamstrings and lower back, which are key areas for me where I hold body fat. And I'm noticing, okay, there's less detail when I'm flatter. So I've got less food coming in, my body's more tired. There's less detail on my hamstrings. So that is an interesting point to note. There is a point where, like what you're saying, Mark, I can see exactly what you're saying. There's a fine line where you cannot do more and expect more results. Like you said, your appetite started to go up. You probably weren't sleeping well. Your joints probably felt sore. You felt cranky, maybe. I don't know. But do you want to talk about that at all a little bit? Maybe like the drawbacks of sometimes pushing too hard and trying to do extra all the time.
Yeah, that was the last 3 weeks. We were looking at the last hit that we wanted to stop was my lower. And we had a conversation and we were like, maybe we push the cardio, but I was always against that. I was like, okay, no, the body just doesn't want to push through. The body's holding too much water here. I think it back off in the cardio, back off in the volume, just let the body recover, let the body do its own thing. Those abs will pop. And it worked. It definitely worked, because I remember when I had that conversation with the coach, I said, listen, okay, let me do this my way. I've got an idea what my body actually wants. And all I did was I was very, very relaxed. I was getting extra sleep. I was really nailing down on my nutrition. I was only getting in those steps in just to improve digestion. I was only pretty much having these walks after my meals. So I was doing 2 walks a day, but I would have those walks after I've had the meal. And that was just basically to help digestion. 20 minutes, done, go home, watch a bit of TV, do a bit of work, go to bed, let the body recover. And that's when I saw tremendous benefits. That's when I nailed it on stage. I think if I had went the opposite way and kept on doing the cardio, I know I would have lost softer on stage.
For sure, yeah. I've got a hypothesis myself on the walks and the splitting up your cardio into like micro, like 10-minute walks or session sort of thing, rather than an hour on a treadmill. Like you said about the blood sugar, it's going to be a lot better that way. I think because you're like dedicating, okay, I'm going for a 10-minute walk now. It means you can be pretty sure that intensity level, that speed of that 10-minute walk will pretty much the same throughout the day. Now, if you're walking for 40 minutes a day, say, in one slot, by the time you get to 25 minutes, 30 minutes in, you're not trying as hard. So it's hard to scale and manage and measure how hard you're trying because you've got such a big burden of it. I also speculate that there's some over-taxation, over-stress to the body by doing too much, list cardio where you're sort of doing, an hour or something. I feel like, obviously, when you do that kind of level of activity, your heart's going to expand to adapt to, the extra blood flow and the blood volume that needs to pump around your body at a given time. I think that could be a stress to the body, so that when you're training, you're running a low food, and you're probably not sleeping very well, you're not recovering that well, it could actually be a negative impactor. So I actually prefer the way you're doing it. Doesn't necessarily have to be, step counts. It could just be, I'm going to do a 10-minute walk after each meal. I'm going to do a 5-minute walk around, something like that. And I'm doing that at the moment. So I'm doing my 20 minutes cardio after each session. I started at 15. And that's just elliptical. It's very light. It's not intense. It's not straining. My heart rate's about 120, 130. Then I'm doing about 2, sometimes 3 walks per day, which last about 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. They're quite tough for my body because of the terrain around me. I live near a nature reserve river, so there are little bits of like slopes and things which are quite tough for my body, but I quite enjoy it because I'm out in nature. I mean, is that something you'd see as well, being a benefit, being out in nature, like, with the fresh air, the blue skies, rather than being, taped up on a hoodie, facing the blue lit screen, sweating your ass off, sort of thing.
Oh, 100%. And I had this conversation with a few bodybuilders backstage. They were saying to me, like, listen, the last 3 weeks we are pushing their body, like doing high reps, drop sets, more carbs. No wonder these people were absolutely exhausted. Stage, you could see they were exhausted. They're unbelievable shape, but you could see they weren't right. You could see they weren't right at all, and I didn't want to put my body through that. That's why I said at the very, very beginning, I felt very, very comfortable all the way through my prep. When I stepped on stage, I felt really, really good. I had people beside me that were sweating, almost getting ready to faint. Like, listen, you're after pushing your body to the point of exhaustion. Some of us just didn't want to do that. If that's what you're into, and I mean, at the end of the day, you know better than I do, Jonathan, it's all about winning. You want to get to first place and you'll do whatever it takes. But I think at the point where you're going to take things to the extreme, you need to be very, very careful.
I completely agree. Yeah, it's not for everyone, which is when I speak to people in consultations, they're like, I want to do a bodybuilding show. I'm like, are you sure? Like, do you want to do one well? Do you want to succeed, or do you just want to be on stage? Because the plan I give you will be very different. You won't like me if the plan that I give you, if you want to compete on stage and win decisively. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but it's part and parcel, because the thing is, there's always some crazy idiot out there like me, like you, Mark, like Colt, that's going to try harder than everyone else. So learning when to scale back is quite important as well. I think you touched on a really good point there. Now I wanted to ask a little bit about your protein sources. I know you're very much, I wouldn't say anti-supplement, but you're very much pro-food. Get your food in first, then worry about everything else after, if you need to worry about it. So what would a day of eating look like with you? And did you notice that you fell into a particular pattern of meal frequency or food types? Was it chicken thighs every morning? Was it scrambled eggs for lunch? Was it, what sort of your prep did you have in the end?
So at the end, we kept it very stringy, kept it red meat pretty much. Because I have an allergy to certain foods, I just get away with just eating red meat. So at the end, pretty much all the way through the prep, all I was having was just ground beef, ribeye, salt, and water. That's pretty much all it was. There was no eggs. There was nothing else. There was no protein powder. I would have loved to have a protein powder in there, because I have a dairy allergy. It's impossible. And then I had a little bit of cacao butter in the off season. But as we got closer, it was just basically the protein. We were getting a nice 1-to-1 ratio with the proteins and fats. We weren't adding anything else in. We just kept it as basic as possible. And then it worked out for me as well, because I had to do the long journey over to the thing. I didn't have to pack everything, a lot of stuff away. All I had to do was just throw a few bits of ground beef into Tupperware, a few bits of ribeye, and it just kept. So at that stage, like you at the moment, I was just trying to make everything as easy as possible. I wasn't trying to complicate things. I wasn't in the frame of mind. Okay, I need to start panicking about this and this and this and this and this. I just wanted to keep it simple. So I just said to the coach, I said, okay, just write me out a plan with red meat, ground beef, ribeye, and let me just do the work. That's it.
Yeah, that works well. When you're eating a carnivore diet, it definitely amplifies your fat loss results because it's so simple. That's what I found. And the thing about the carnivore diet as well is that with the carnivore diet, because you're eating maybe 2 or 3 different foods, I'm eating about 5. I've got good tolerance to different foods. I find that if I can tweak one thing, it makes a huge difference. So, for example, I noticed my skin recently was quite dry, so I bought a big pack of salmon. So in one day I had a massive pack of salmon. I just fit it with my macros and worked it out from there. I find you do get an intuitive kind of feel for competitive bodybuilding and dieting when you're on a carnivore diet. It's so much easier now. I mean, how many meals a day do you eat at the moment? I think you said, was it 3 or 4?
I'm eating 4 at the moment.
Yeah. And how has that been for you? Have you found that they're equal size meals, or are they bigger, smaller?
No, they're equal size. The only reason I do that is just basically for digestion. I could easily put away 2 meals a day if I wanted to, or 1 meal a day, but I don't want to. I'd rather just eat every couple of hours, because I I'm up very, very early. My days are quite long, and I choose that. So my days are around 16, 17 hours. So to eat 2 meals in that time it's going to be way too long. So I would rather have something to look forward to pretty much every 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, sounds sensible to me. So what your current meals look like then? Or from meal to meal, is it mixed? Is it more mixed now, or is it still sort of kind of line diet?
So the only thing I added pretty much back in was the cacao butter. I'm still pretty much carnivore. The majority of my meals are just red meat. I have tested a few protein powders just to make the things a little bit interesting, but again, they don't work for me whatsoever. So I'm just pretty much anti-supplements. I don't take any supplements whatsoever. So at the moment, it's just, I would say I'm about 95%, maybe 97% carnivore at the moment. The only thing I might have, the odd occasion, I might have a decaf coffee, but that's very, very rare, very, very rare. And then I have the electrolytes as well. I'll have electrolytes probably once every couple of days also.
Fair enough. I like your style. It keeps it so much simpler, so much easier to measure and manage as well. Now, I've done bodybuilding, bulking both ways. I've done it with the carbohydrates and I've done it with the carnivore diet. What I will say, honestly, people watching this probably won't like it, but it is hard to gain extra muscle weight on a carnivore diet. Not because you gain less muscle. I think it's equated between like a carbohydrate and a carnivore diet. I just find it's hard to pack in more food, so it's a bit more challenging. You have to manage things a bit better. So, for example, I couldn't just go to out for a meal now and say I was bulking up and it's off season. I was like, okay, I'm going to eat this much steak with this much butter, with loads of cheese and loads of eggs. That's not going to be affordable over here in the UK to eat out that way very often. Whereas if I had the option of, a baked potato, some rice with nice cream or something, it'd be so much more easier. So I'd say it's harder in some senses, but better in other senses, because I know that if I try to eat too much food in the off season, I'm not going to gain body fat, or at least very little, because it's hard to overeat real food. Have you found that yourself at all? Like it's hard to get fat almost.
You know what I'm jealous of you having? I'm very, very jealous when I see you eat dairy, because I know that's the missing ingredient that I need. I know I would get a lot bigger if I could have dairy, because all I'm doing pretty much is eating meat. And it's very, very hard, like you said, to overeat on meat. It's just impossible. I only weigh 140 pounds, so I'm eating an extra 40 grams of protein because I'm hungry. But if I went up any higher, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm getting really stuck. But I would love to have, like you, like the other guys that are huge on dairy, huge on cheese. It would make my life so much easier.
The cheese is the one, because you can mix it with eggs, any meat. You can even make a Parmesan salmon sort of meal sometimes. Bit of butter on it, it's so much easier.
Yeah, I do be jealous when I'm looking at your meals like you.
So I guess your way of increasing fat now is with the cacao butter and with just fattier meat, so lamb and things like that.
Yeah, well, I'll probably add in some beef tallow as well. Yeah, primarily I'm getting it from the cacao butter, which is good because it's a good amount of fat. It doesn't do any my digestion whatsoever, and it's easy. It's easy to get those extra fats in.
Interesting, yeah. And do you tolerate eggs at all?
No, can't eat them at all. I can probably eat the egg white, but when it comes, probably eat the egg yellow, but when it comes to the egg white, it destroys me.
Fair enough. Yeah, you are quite limited in that sense. That's be challenging, because I was thinking you can make your own sort of keto brick kind of thing, out of cacao butter, and I guess you can maybe make a bark or something out of the beef or beef mince. And
you know what, I was speaking to a few people that live over in the States, and they were mentioning to me, even what's his name, Stephen was mentioning with protein, and he was like, you can get it in the States, and it's kind of like just beef protein, but I was looking at it, and the prices are very expensive to get shipped over here. I mean, you're talking about $65 to buy it, and then to get it shipped over to here, you're looking at another $50. So it's nearly $120 for just this size packet of protein. I'm like, oh, you're right.
Yeah, the Equip protein powders are tough. The only suggestion I could possibly have is to try using a collagen powder, then mixing some nasty artificial sweeteners and flavorings to it. That's the way you're going to have to do it, to be honest, if you wanted to do it. Or there's a beef hydrolysate powder, I believe, something like that. But the thing is, the mixability and the flavors of these things is a bit gelatinous. So sometimes you have to be a bit careful when you're mixing them. But, you know, it's a tough ask, but, you know.
And you know what the funny thing is? I was actually looking at one of your stories there during the week. I think it was only a couple of days ago, where you said you introduced the food and you got very, very inflamed. I think it was on one of your questions. And I had this similar experience a few weeks ago, where I used to be absolutely hooked on these sugar-free drinks, hooked on them. I could probably drink about 3 or 4 days a day. And I took one out there about a week ago, and I drank it. And no word of a lie, it tasted like Alka-Seltzer. It was absolutely vile. It was honestly, I took one sup of it and I was like, yeah, this is disgusting. And I'd say for 24 hours, just after that little sup, my stomach was in bits. And I don't think people understand that, because they're so used to eating like rubbish. But like yourself and myself that are kind of we're more fat adapted, when we introduce these foods, it really does have an effect on our body.
For sure. For me, it was a Nando's chicken that I ate. I've got I wouldn't say I've got a strong gut, like I can tolerate things like most people, but in terms of the carnivore space, I seem to be able to mix foods a bit better than a lot of people. I could do sweeteners without any impact to my blood glucose, to be honest. But for me, it was the seed oils in the peri peri sauce. Now, the one that I picked up, I thought, oh, it's a chili one, it's a spicy one, it's probably got a bit of vinegar, some chili powder, you know, stuff like that, maybe a tiny bit of sugar, nothing to break the bank. I read the ingredients, so I looked at the macros in the back, and it had about 10 grams of fat per 100 mil. So for a seasoning, that's got relatively quite a lot of fat in it. Then I looked at the ingredient. The only ingredient in there that could have been that fat is bloody rapeseed oil, which we know is toxic as hell. So that obviously passed straight through me, but then I had the double whammy impact of the chili powder. So, you know, we can only be so careful, but I would like to try the carnivore diet like the way you've done it at some point in the near future, where you just do it clean, salt, meat, maybe some dairy. I like to keep it simple.
And I'm at a stage in my life where I'm actually comfortable with that. I don't feel that. I don't feel like I'm under stress. I'm under pressure. I feel very, very relaxed the way I'm eating now. I actually look forward to my meals. So there's no pressure at all. It's not like I'm looking at my plate and I'm like, okay, I'm eating red meat again. No, I'm actually looking forward to those meals because they taste really, really nice. I think my body's just accustomed to that food now. It makes me feel good. I have so much energy. I'm still quite lean. So I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, what do I need to add in? Like, everything's perfect. I don't want to be walking around bloated anymore. I don't want to be walking around depressed anymore, anxiety, getting over stupid things. And I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed as well, is my anger levels. I'm very, very relaxed. I'm extremely relaxed eating this way. I don't let anything get to me anymore. Whereas in the past, if someone said to me something on social media, or if someone said to me out of turn, I would have just went bananas. But now I'm just, I'm very, very relaxed.
I find exactly the same. As long as my fat is very, very high. My fat is about a third of what it was in the off season right now. So I am very angry and I'm not very happy and I'm very tired. So, that's just comes with it. I'm afraid, it just comes with it. But how high does your fat get in the off season? Just as a wrap up question.
So at the moment I'm on 340.
That's a good amount of fat, isn't it?
Yeah, my macros at the moment are 180 protein, 340 fats, and I only weigh 140. So you can imagine how good that is. So I could easily push that more, easily. But I'm very, very happy with the way I look. It's satisfying. It's filling. I don't want to push it. I don't want to make myself too sloppy looking. So I'm eating a good amount of food, and I'm happy with where I am. I'm getting stronger in the gym. My lifts are getting bigger. My lifts are getting better over the day. So by all means, I'm just going to keep doing it. But I could eat easily if I wanted to. I could easily push more food.
Yeah, you're in that fine spot there where you can sort of still make progress but not feel like crap. That's what we all aspire to be.
Yeah, right. The great feeling that that you're eating so much about, because I only had this with an influencer about 3 weeks ago, and he was like, "You must be undereating," and I was like, "Hang on a second, I'm gonna send you on my macros. You work out your calories for me." We added it all up, and I was eating, I can't remember what it was. I think it was around 4.3, maybe 4.4. And I was like, how the fuck am I eating nearly 4,500 calories in your turn? And I only weigh 140 pounds. And he was like, okay, you should be going by a calculator. You should be going by 140 pounds, multiply it by 10. That's what you should be starting off to look lean. And I was like, my God, this guy is telling me that I should be looking at a computer, focusing all the way I look at a computer. And I was like, oh my God, how are these people giving out this information? It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I've got my own theories on that one, to be honest. But my coach today said to me, "Oh, you're quite a big chap. Competitively, you're eating low to moderate amount of food for relative to your size and how lean you are." I'm like, yeah, I know. There's a reason why. And that, you guys have to stay tuned for that one, because I'm going to do a deep dive of that one with Harry Sopanos at some point. But it involves quantum biology and quantum tunneling. So very interesting stuff. So I'll make sure I'll tag everyone in it that it might be interesting for. But the idea is basically you can have someone like Mark who eats 4,500 calories per day. You have someone like me who could eat 3,000 and maintain weight if I wanted to. Just through some very simple manipulations in lifestyle things. But again, we can debunk calories in, calories out all day. Check out my playlist on my channel. Mark also does interesting talks nearly every day actually on his Instagram, so I recommend you follow that one. So just want to give you the opportunity to link your Instagram, any services you offer, any coaching, and all the stuff to help people get in contact with you right now.
Thanks. So if people want to reach out to me on Instagram. My Instagram is fitnessbeyond01. I'm available for coaching. I look after people that are struggling with weight, that have tried pretty much everything, and that are struggling with health conditions. I work with a lot of women that are struggling with health conditions like PCOS, endometriosis, thyroid, all that kind of stuff. Basically, when you go to your doctor tells you there's no hope for you, I'm the person for you.
Excellent. Well, I will say I do recommend Coach Mark for anyone that's wondering, for anything that he's just outlined in his explanation just there. I don't recommend many people in this space online, guys, because a lot of them talk a load of shit and they just still think that the calories in, calories out model works. And they think they've got a magic pill or a formula or an affiliate code that's going to pave your way to health. And the reality is it's not. All right, thank you very much, Coach Mark, for coming onto my channel today. I'll make sure to link all your stuff below in the description box.
Thanks very much, Jonathan.
Build muscle and lose fat on the carnivore diet.